I am grateful and astonished by the great enthusiasm and participation of the people in this election, which has shocked people around the world, the media, and politicians all over.
This is the Arlene Bynon Show on Canada Talks.
Polls have closed in Iran's first election since that deal over the country's nuclear program they made with world powers and the lifting of the sanctions. Joining us as we talk about why it's important and the kind of impact it's going to have is John Hannaback with us, senior counselor at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. John, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Arlene.
All right. Now, we understand they say the voting was extended about 3 times and the lineups are long. What does that mean?
Well, I think the only thing it's an indicator of is that virtually every time the average Iranian people are given a chance to have any kind of voice at all, however illegitimate the election might be, that they're eager to come out and cast votes, the most extreme vote that's available to them against the existing power base of Iran and against the Islamic Revolution. So whatever the spectrum of opinion is in Iran, they will always vote as far to the left as they can. That is, I'm using the left as an indicator against the hardline radical revolutionaries of the regime. We saw that most vividly in 2009 when they did, for a moment in time, have a real choice, and we saw a real green revolution erupt against the system, against the Islamic Republic. In today's vote, of course, they had much less choice. Today we were talking about, on the one hand, radical revolutionaries like the Supreme Leader himself, and I'd say pragmatic revolutionaries. And my guess is that these pragmatic revolutionaries, some of them who are aligned with President Rouhani, may come out on top today, but I don't think that means any change in terms of America's relations with the Islamic Republic.
It may give us a look, I guess, at the mood in Iran, and as you say, I mean, it's not as if it's upfront and credible. What signs can we take from the mood there, from this vote then?
Other than, I think, outside of the fact that the Iranian people remain hungry for some kind of real democracy, remain hungry to have any kind of voice in their own public life, and remain hungry to be able to kind of point a finger in the eyes of the powers that be that have ruled that theocracy for the last 35 years and say, we are not happy with the system that exists. We want change. We want some kind of entry into the global community. We want to be able to live our lives in a more normal way as a normal nation, not an idea, not a cause, not a revolution. I think that they will do that, even though, again, I will say, because of the nature of this system, the nature of this farcical election, they will have almost virtually no impact on the real questions that divide the West and Iran.
All right. So what kind of issues are up here? What kind of issues are being debated? What is going through the mind of those who can vote in these elections?
Yeah, I think the real debate here was between those people who supported the nuclear deal and those who have been against it. Those who supported it felt like Iran really needs a timeout. They need some kind of breathing space to be able to rebuild their shattered economy, to increase their political influence, diplomatic influence internationally, to build up their conventional military forces again, and eventually, some point down the line, 10 to 15 years, be able to resume their a serious confrontation, maybe even a direct confrontation with the West, whereas the more radical revolutionaries fear that the nuclear deal will, in fact, open Iran up to Western penetration that will, in fact, undermine the revolution, undermine their own basis of power, give the Iranian people hope that they actually could become a normal state that is, in fact, tied to the international community. So they're fearful of that nuclear deal. But again, I would say that amongst all of these, whether radical revolutionaries or pragmatic revolutionaries, this is all an argument about tactics. But at the end of the day, these are all supporters of preserving the Islamic Republic as the theocracy that it is, and they are all supporters of a foreign policy doctrine that is fundamentally anti-Western and part of the whole Death to America movement. One of them wants that confrontation today, is perfectly willing to have it. The other one thinks that Iran needs more time. It needs to build up its strength before it takes on the United States in any kind of direct way.
All right. We know that nuclear deal was very controversial. How is President Barack Obama watching these elections?
Well, I think the president has, in fact, for quite some time bought into the idea that there is some kind of real, meaningful ideological struggle inside of Iran, that maybe America can support and help people who are genuine moderates who want to fundamentally change Iran's orientation toward the West and toward the United States and end this 35-year-old war that the original Ayatollah Khomeini declared on the United States when he started this revolution in 1979. I think President Obama believes that by the nuclear deal, by not confronting Iranian challenges to American interests throughout the Middle East, that he will somehow help support moderates inside of Iran who eventually are going to change this relationship 180 degrees. And I just think that that's been a game that American presidents and administrations, both Democratic and Republican, have been trying to play for 35 years, and invariably we always end up with these radical revolutionaries in Iran calling the shots.
All right. If you're just joining us, John Hanna is my guest, senior counselor at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. John, I want to ask you, as we talk about Barack Obama and we talk about the United States of America, wow, what a crazy 24 hours this has been in the race for the next president of the United States, and that's saying something in a very crazy race. What are your thoughts today?
I agree entirely. Arlene, I am really just flummoxed by exactly what is happening out there in the country. I understand people are very, very angry, and they angry in particular at Washington and the entirety of what they see as the establishment, and they seem to be prepared to kind of blow the whole thing up and let Mr. Trump kind of put something else in its place. And it is just it's a perplexing time in Washington, what people are really hoping to get out of this, other than simply disrupting the entire system as it exists today. What they hope to actually build in its place is somewhat unclear to me.
It is, and it's also unclear how much it is spread. Is it within the Democratic Party? I mean, can Donald Trump take this message? Can he actually become president of the United States?
Well, to the extent that we've, or people like me, have been kind of wrong all along.
I know, we all have.
Yeah, and who didn't believe he could actually become the Republican nominee, which seems to me a very, very high chance that boat has sailed, and he will be the Republican nominee. I would not put anything past him. I still think it's an uphill battle, but depending on how much Mrs. Clinton, who I assume is going to be the Democratic nominee, is eventually damaged by the various scandals swirling around here, I do not put it past somebody who has demonstrated the kind of raw political instincts and talents of Mr. Trump to be able to figure out a way to appeal to enough people to get enough crossover from constituencies that we don't even think about now and surprise everybody. Is
this a political revolution? It kind of looked like one that many really didn't seem coming.
Yes, no, I think nobody, at least in Washington, where I live, saw this coming, appreciated the kind of groundswell that was out there on both sides, both Democrats and Republicans. The anger that exists against Washington, the sense of absolute failure by the establishment in Washington to protect people and take care of people and look to the interests of the American people. Nobody properly understood how deep that sentiment is, and it took people of a talent like Mr. Trump's to be able to tap into that vein in a very serious way, and for some people, quite a dark way and a worrying way. But he's definitely got his pulse on the on what the American people are feeling, much better than the vast majority of our other politicians.
And that's kind of scary what people are feeling, isn't it?
I think it is. We will see. You would hope that you'd have a politician who would be able to take that kind of sense of anger and discontent and channel it in a very, very positive way that's consistent with American traditions and the better sense of ourselves. And one still hopes that those kinds of leaders will arise, but obviously all of us have seen darker periods in history where that doesn't happen.
No.
And a strong man on a white horse charges in, and sometimes not always with the best results.
All right, John Hanna, thank you so much for joining us today. You have a lovely weekend.
You too, Arlene. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.